CS3 Basics. Introduction to CS3. Three questions. CS3. CS3 is the latest standard for CSS. CSS3 is completely backwards compatible with earlier CSS versions. Some of the most significant new features are border radius allows us to create rounded corners for elements. Border images allow us to specify an image as the border around an element. Multiple backgrounds applies multiple backgrounds to elements, animations and effects, and much more. There are a lot of other great features that will be discussed in upcoming lessons. Is it possible to have multiple backgrounds in CSS3? Yes. CSS3 new features. To make web developer easier and faster, CSS3 introduces additional new features, including the following. Box shadow. With the box shadow property, you can attach one or more shadow to an element by specifying values for color, size, blur, and offset. Gradients. CSS3 gradients allow us to get the background color of the element to a gradient. Two types of gradient are available: linear and radial. CSS defines two types of gradient: linear and radial. Transforms. CSS3 new features. Transforms allows you to rotate, scale, move, and squeak elements. Another popular feature is transitions, which allows you to animate from one CSS property value to another. You can combine it with transform and animate the element position, rotation, or scale. The property attracting the most attention is animations. The property attracting the most attention is animations. CSS animations have their own specific, and they allow you to create keyframes set during easing and more. Most of the new features have been implemented by major web browsers, so you can already enjoy the power of CSS3. Which CSS3 features allows animation from one CSS property value to another. Okay, alright. Transitions. Vendor prefixes. CSS vendor prefixes. CSS vendor prefixes or CSS browser prefixes are a way for browser makers to add support for new CSS features during periods of testing and experimentation. Browser's prefixes are used to add new features that might not be part of the final and formal CSS specifications. Informal CSS specification. For example, the prefix for Safari and Chrome is WebKit. The border-radius property is currently supported in Chrome, Safari, and Mozilla, as long as it is compatible is accompanied by the browser prefix. To specify the border-radius in Chrome and Safari, the following syntax is used: WebKit border radius 25 pixels. The prefix is added to the property to make it work. In the unsupported browsers, so you might end up with multiple definitions of the same property, each with the specific browser prefix. While most browsers today will work without prefixes, it is essential to know these for backward compatibility and understanding older codes. Fill in the blank to add the right prefix for Google Chrome. It was what? WebKit. WebKit. Not WebKit. No, WebKit. Oh my god, what the hell? Kit. Browsers prefixes. Here's the list of vendors' prefixes for each browser: Moz, WebKit, Opera, MS. Might feel annoying and repetitive to have to write the properties 2 to 5 times to get them to work in all browsers, but it is temporarily. As browsers improve, they add support for the standard base version and the properties, and you can remove the prefixes version. Drag and drop from the options below to support border radius in Mozilla Firefox as well as WebKit-based browsers. Radius, Moz, border radius, round counter corners, rounded corners. 2 questions. I was gonna say something else. With CSS3, you can give any element rounded corners by using the border radius property. The CSS border radius 20, background color green, color white. Result: a specific border radius values can be applied for the border radius property. Apply for the border radius property in the following order: top left, top right, bottom left. Border radius. So the value of border radius can also be specified in percentage. Okay. Add the border radius values to indicate 0 pixels to the top left, 15 pixels to the bottom left, 10 pixels to the bottom right, and 20 pixels to the top right. What was it? It was top left, top right, bottom left. Top left, top right. The top left, 20 to the bottom, top right, bottom left. Bottom right, bottom left. Creating a circle. A rectangle can be turned into a circle using only CSS. To create a circle, the border radius should be half of the height and the width. The rectangle in the example below has a width and height of 200 pixels. By setting the border radius to 100 pixels, the corners will be rounded to form a circle. Width, height, border radius. Yep. Makes total sense. To make a circle, the border radius should be equal to half of the height and the width. Box shadows. Excuse me. The box shadow property. The CSS3 box shadow property applies shadows to elements. Components of the box shadow property are decoded by browsers in the following manner. The first line for the horizontal offset will cast the shadow to the right of the box required. The second line is for the vertical offset that will cast the shadow to below the box required. The color of the shadow optional. In the example below, the horizontal and vertical offset have been set to 10 pixels. So width, background color, box shadow, and color. Result. Add the box shadow property for your results of 10 pixels vertical offset, 20 pixels horizontal offset, and red for the color. Okay, box shadow vertical offset horizontal, I think it's 20 and 10. That's correct because it's horizontal and then vertical. Blurred and spread. Besides color, there are also two options values for the box shadow element, which are blurred and spread. The blurred and spread values should be used before the color value. Box shadow. Vertical offset, blur, distance, spread distance, horizontal offset. Which two choices indicate optional values for the box shadow? Blur distance. Negative values. Negative values can also be used for the box shadow property. Horizontal offset for the shadow will be to the left of the box. Vertical offset, the shadow will be above the box. Blur radius, negative values are not allowed. Spread radius, negative values will cause the shadow to shrink. For example, place the box shadow property values in the correct order. Horizontal, vertical, blurred, spread, color. Yep. Box shadow techniques. 2 questions. Creating an inner shadow. The insert keyword allows to draw an inner shadow in the box. To show an inner shadow, just add the insert keyword. Insert, not inner, insert. You can simultaneously create inner and outer shadows by separating each shadow with a comma. Okay, which keyword is used to create a shadow within the element? Inner, insert. And then what's the inner is used for? Inner and outer shadow by separating each. Layering multiple shadows. You can define as many shadows for the same box as you want, by writing all of them comma separated in the same result. In the same rule. In the example below, 2 inner shadows have been created by separating each shadow with a comma. Box shadow. Insert. In case we specify more than one value, the one which comes last will be positioned at the back of all shadows. Here's an example. As expected, the blue shadow comes last. Multiple box shadows are separated by okay, let me just grab this real quick. Transparency effect. Transparency effect. Before CSS3, transparent background images were used to create transparency effects. The new features of CSS3 now makes it easier to create transparency effects. CSS supports color names. What's going on here? Color names, hexadecimals, and RGB colors. In addition, CSS3 includes the following: RGB colors. RGB color values are exception of RGB color values with a alpha channel which specifies the opacity for a color. And RGBA color value is specified with RGBA, red, green, blue, alpha. The alpha parameter is a number between 0.0, fully transparent, and 1.0, fully opaque. HSL, hue, saturation, lightness, colors. As HSL color values is specified with HSL, hue, saturation, lightness. Hue is a degree of the color wheel, ranging from 0 to ranging from 0 to 360. 0 or 360 is red, 120 is green, 240 is blue. Saturation is a percentage value. 100% is the full color. Lightness is also a percentage. 0% is dark, black, and 100 is white. HSL A color values are an extension of HSL color values with an alpha channel, which specifies the opacity for a color, just like RGBA. In the example below, a transparent glass menu bar is created with CSS3. In the HTML file, a nav tag containing a unlisted list with links has been added. Okay. Here, courses discuss top learning blocks. A number of CSS features are used to create the effects. body, background, URL, BG, JPEG, nav, padding, minimum width, 500 pixels, nav, UL, background, linear gradient, 90 degrees, RGBA 255, 255, 0%. Okay. Box shadow 0, 25 pixels, RGBA NZ 0, 1 pixel, RGB nav UL lip inline block display nav UL lit A padding 10 pixels, color, font size, font family, Arial, text decoration, non-display block, result, courses, discuss top learning block. The UL tag has been styled with a background gradient that is with a transparent 2-box shadow values has been added, one for one outlet dark shadow and one for an inlet light edge. Some of the properties used, like the background gradient, will be discussed in the upcoming lessons. Fill in the blanks to create a footer with a inset box shadow and a 1 pixel border at the top. Footer. The fuck? The text shadow property. The text shadow property defines one or more common separated shadows effects to be applied to the text content of the current element. The image below shows how the text shadow property is applied. The offset X and offset Y values are required for the CSX text shadow property. The color value is not required, but since the default for the text shadow is transparent, the text shadow will not appear unless you specify a color value. Add a 2 pixel left and 5 pixels down blur text shadow Multiple text shadow. The text shadow style can accept multiple values in a comma separated list. According to CSS3, the shadows are laid down in the order they appear. So if they overlap, the last one that is specified should appear on top. CSS3 now has changed that so they are applied in reverse order. To create multiple shadows, the shadows are separated with a comma. Here's an example. Text shadow. 5 pixels, 10 pixels, 2 pixels. This example defines two text shadows at different locations, blur radius, and colors. This makes it look like there are two different light sources on the text. To make a text shadow look realistic, remember there are few shadow characteristics. A shadow which is close to the text is normally not as blurred as a shadow that is far from the text. A shadow that is far from the text usually implies a light source, which is also far from the text. A shadow which is close to the text usually implies that the underlying surface is close, that the light is close, or both. A close shadow is often darker than a distant shadow because less light can give in between the shape and the underlying surface. To remove a text shadow, set the text shadow property to none. No shadow will be associated with that element. How many text shadow properties can an element upset? Multiple. Pseudo-classes. Pseudo-classes. Working with pseudo-classes. The CSS pseudo-classes allow us to style elements or part of elements with the existing elements that exist in the document tree without using JavaScript or any other scripts. A pseudo-class starts with a colon. The most commonly used pseudo-classes are first child and last child. The first child pseudo-class matches a element that is the first child element of some other elements. In the following example, the selector matches a p element that is the first child of the div element. Parent p, first child, color green, text decorative underline. So the last child pseudo-class matches an element that is the last child element of some other element. In the example below, the selector will match any p element that is the last child of the div element. Style, the first child of the p element. Pseudo-elements. Working with pseudo-elements. Pseudo-elements are used to select specific parts of an element. There are 5 pseudo-elements in CSS. It starts with a double colon. First line, first letter. The first line of the text is the text in a selector. The first letter of a text in a selector. Selection selects the portion of an element that is selected by a user. Before, insert some content before an element. After, insert some content after an element. In the example below, the first line for pseudo-element is used to style the first line of our text. The selection for pseudo-element style the selected text. The most prefix is used as the selection element is not supported by Mozilla yet. Which of the following is not a pseudo-element in CSS? Working with pseudo-elements, using before and after pseudo-elements allow us to add a wide variety of content to the page. In the example below, the before pseudo-element is used to add an image before the list, the HTML. P before counter URL logo. Note the content keyword in the syntax. If you change before element to after, in the example above, the image will appear at the end of the list. Using an image prior to the paragraph using a pseudo-element. Add an image prior to the paragraph using a pseudo-element. What was the URL? Word wrap. The word wrap property. The word wrap property allows long words to be broken and wrapped into the next line. Takes two values, normal and break word. In the example below, the word wrap property is set to normal, the CSS. Result. This paragraph has a long word. In the example below, the word wrap property set to normal. Now let's see what happened when we use the same example and set the word wrap property to break word. Okay, when the word wrap property is set to break word, The browser breaks a word when it's too long to fit within its container. Fill in the blanks to fit the text into the paragraph. What? What was it? Word. Word wrap. Break word. Finally, a font face. 2 questions. The a font face rule. The a font face rule allows custom fonts to be loaded into a web page. With the help of this rule, designs are no longer limited to the fonts that are installed on a user's computer. In Internet 8 and earlier, the URL must point to an embedded open type EOT file with file, while Firefox, Chrome, etc. supported true type fonts, TTF font and open type fonts, OTF. Browser. Which 2 of the following font types are supported in Firefox, Safari, and Chrome? TTF. TTF, OTF. Using the A font face rule, each font of the font family must be declared using the A font face rule. In the example below, a custom font called Delicious is loaded and used for the heading. This is our headline. Font face. Font family Delicious. Source URL Delicious Roman. OTF. A font from Delicious. Font weight width bold. Source AC1. Very delicious sans serifs. Internet Explorer has a built-in bug when multiple font face rules are defined. Using iFix as shown below fixes the problem. Font face. delicious. Let's see if it's resolved. This is our headline. The question mark fools with you into thinking the rest of the string is a query string and loads just the OET file. The other browser follows the spec and selects the font they need based on the source cascade. We find a new font name test. Font face, and then font family. Okay. Model 5 quest. In the following code snippet, what value is given to the bottom right corner border radius? Bottom right. Top left. Top right. 30. When defining a new font in CSS3, use font face. Drag and drop from the options below to color the text in the paragraph with ID my text red. Also add a black shadow to the text that is 5 pixels to the right and 3 pixels down. Okay. Okay. And then text. Drag and drop from the options below to color the text in the paragraph with red. Add a black shadow. The color red. Black text shadow. 5 pixels to the right and 3 pixels down. Pixels to the right. 5 pixels to the right, 3 pixels down. Yep. Fill in the blanks so that the first line of the paragraph uses the newly defined font called test. Font. The font face. Font face. First line of the paragraph uses the newly defined font face. Font face. First line border first last It's not gonna be down. First line, first letter, before, after. Okay.